Ghostbusters Frozen Empire came out this week and I went along to see it. It's the latest in the Ghostbusters franchise. It stars Paul Rudd, Carrie, Coon, Finn Wolfhard and Mckenna. It also has Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd and Ernie Hudson, who were from the original films. This is the fourth outing for these guys, but it's the fifth in the Ghostbusters franchise, and it's come out after Ghostbusters Afterlife, which came out a couple of years ago. I went along to see that. I really enjoyed Ghostbusters Afterlife for the most part. I think it got a little funny at the end. I'm a bit of a fan of the earlier films. I really enjoyed them. I think they are what they are. They're good comedies, especially the first one. It was a real hit. I'm not like a mega nerd about Ghostbusters. I just think they're fun films to watch. I also actually have quite a soft spot for the second one, even though a lot of people don't. I have fond memories of that film because it came out around the time of my childhood. I remember seeing it and really enjoying it. And yes, watching it as an adult now, it's not so good, which kind of sums up how I probably feel about Frozen Empire. Frozen Empire has the cast from Afterlife now living in New York. They're at the old fire station. They have the Ecto-1 and they're ghost busting. The mayor, who's in the first film, tries to shut them down, which kind of is reminiscent of the older films. And then a new evil starts to make itself known very gradually throughout the film. And there's a new big bad and there's new things within this story alongside some callbacks to the original films. First off, going back to what I said about my opinions on the second one, because I was a kid when I watched it and now as an adult, yes, I can see the flaws. I can imagine this being very much the same if you're a kid. If you saw this as a child, this is probably entertaining. It's got some action, it's got some fun bits, it's quite flashy, it's got an intriguing bad guy, but the film altogether is not that great. I would also say that it's way worse than the second one in that it doesn't really know what it is. There's so much going on in this film, I couldn't really get to grips with where it was wanting to go. There were too many thread lines that came in throughout the film and too many characters. Having said that, some of the bits that I could pick out from the film were good, but it's just as a whole, as they coalesced, they just didn't work together for me. I felt bored throughout this film. I felt like every step of the way it was just leading towards something that wasn't really going to fulfill. The looming thing in this film, Goraka, this huge monster that turns everything into ice, is kind of cool, but it builds and it builds and it builds to us getting to there, and then by the time that they show up in the film, you're just like not that interested anymore, and I felt like it was a bit of a damp squib. It's also building up all these other characters, and it brings so many different characters and ideas into the film, some of which are good, some of which are not so good. And because there are so many different things to focus on within the film, it just felt like this film lost its legs. It went all over the place. I felt like this film either needed to say goodbye to the old characters and move on and do its own thing, or be more focused on the older characters and really dial into that. Unfortunately, there's a bit of a split here, and it is kind of funny. Halfway through the film, I was like, where's Paul Rudd's character gone? And then all of a sudden he shows up. There's this big gap in the middle where you're just like, oh, where have these people gone and where have these people gone? And I felt like you never saw one character or another, or focused heavily on one character to really care about where these people are going. There is definitely a focus on Phoebe, and she seems to be the linchpin throughout the film once you get to the end of it. She goes off on her own little side story, and it has a link up with the rest of the film. When it comes, it just feels like this completely disconnected moment. I could feel in the audience that I was with, it was just dead silence of, oh, what's this? And I felt that throughout. There were moments where I was just like, why is this coming to the story? You find out later down the line that it has something to do with the main plot. The problem is it feels so convoluted. They had these ideas of, whoa, what if this would happen to Phoebe? Or, oh, what if there was this kind of person who came into the story? As you can tell, I'm trying not to give the game away. I want you to make your own informed opinion of this film by seeing it yourselves. However, would I recommend it? I don't know. There are these things that get brought in, and some of them seem good, but then they also seem completely nonsensical all the way through it. If you're thinking that, then unfortunately your film is failing. And I think Ghostbusters Frozen Empire isn't very good. And in fact, I'd say it's the worst out of the franchise that I've seen. It feels disconnected. And all the way through it, I thought, why am I feeling like this when the setting is right? It's in New York. It's got the firehouse. They've got the Ecto-1. They're chasing ghosts. This should be fun. I should be having a fun time with this. And it just felt flat to me. I think that there's a lot of nostalgia baiting going on, and it seems to just bring it in. And there's this little side thing with Finn Wolfhard's character, Trevor, who finds Slimer. Again, that feels like a very disconnected part of the story and is just there to A, give that character something to do, and B, to give you some nostalgia bait. And then also, Bill Murray just pops into this film out of freaking nowhere, and it's just like, hi, I'm Bill Murray. Hi, I'm Bill Murray. It only happens a couple of times. When he's on screen, it's kind of fun, but then it's just like, he just appears like a puff of smoke and then he disappears just as fast, and he has no interaction with the rest of the film. Dan Aykroyd's character is in it a lot, and it feels all very disjointed. Like, he has his little shop and everything, but then he seems to know everything about everything. But I know that's a callback to Ghostbusters 1 and 2, that they come up with this made-up gobbledygook about some ancient spiritual aspiral kind of I just spat myself. They come up with these things and you're just like, this is calling back, but it just seems like shoehorned in. It's a bit cheesy. I expect a little bit of cheese from Ghostbusters, but I think they've just thought too hard about, oh, what if we can get this in? What if we can get this in? But then also been like, we also want to be original and do something different. But then they've taken so many different ideas and bungled it all together. At the end of the day, is it a good or bad film? I didn't enjoy this. I came out of the film feeling frustrated that it just felt so disjointed and all over the place. There are some decisions made in terms of filming, like watching Ghostbusters chase down a CGI blue dragon creature in the daytime looks super weird and non-scary. And I think that's the reason why I enjoyed the first original Ghostbusters 1 and 2, that they had some level of threat. They had some level of hauntingness and horror almost, but then they were funny as well. I didn't laugh once through this. I don't think one single joke landed. And then there are aspects of the film that they just bring in all the time, and you're just questioning everything. Like, why are the marshmallow little men in here? What is that serving? It's doing nothing. It did nothing for me. I don't understand why they're here. They're like, they've treated them like minions, and I think it's ridiculous that they're there. One thing I did pick up on, though, is I think they thought that the things they did in Afterlife about getting around Phoebe and supporting her was what they should do with this film, and carry that on and have it kind of repeat in that way. And at the end, they kind of support each other and do all this kind of teamwork stuff. And it just feels like they've taken that idea from Afterlife and just kind of added more to it, but it just doesn't land. It's like, you kind of used that one already. You really have to come up with something else. I feel like I'm bashing the film a lot, but one thing I feel like I'm not is the audience for this film. I'm a cinema fan. I enjoy interesting cinema. I also enjoy entertaining cinema, and when cinema is entertaining, it's apparent, and Ghostbusters 1 is entertaining, even though it's a very straightforward, very simple, not overly impressive film, but still, importantly, it makes you laugh, and it is also, like, the special effects at the time were really fun to watch and a bit disturbing, actually. Whereas this, it just hasn't got that. The magic's gone, in my opinion, and it's a real shame, because I actually thought that Afterlife was a fairly decent time up to a point. It just fell off for me when it got into the full-on nostalgia stuff, like Gozer being involved and the Ghostbusters just turning up out of nowhere. And so I don't really see how they can take this anywhere that's going to make me really want to watch it. I may go and watch another film of this, but I will predict now that I won't enjoy it. That is my take on Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Let me know what you thought of the film in the comments. Did you like it? Did you not? If you like this video, please go ahead and like, and please consider subscribing, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.